You've spoken, I think, in other interviews about the lack of optimism among Indian people. I think you shared a story about how you went to address Uday Kotak's board and you found that everybody was very downcast. Can you talk a little bit about what makes you so optimistic at all times? And so far when I asked you what mistake you've made, you only spoke about personal habits. Have you ever made a professional mistake?
I've made a professional mistake in investing in some wrong companies.
Which was your
I have
worst
not. I came
investment?
to
Which,
Barkha, I
which was
came
your
to
worst? Which
hear
was
me,
your
hear
worst
me out. I
investment?
came to the market with 5,000 rupees.
Hmm.
Whatever my wealth I've grown on that 5,000. Right? God has given me considerable wealth more. Now, far more than I need. But that isn't. So if I made mistake, what does it mean? I look at the overall result.
Hmm.
Maybe I made
But
some mistake. What is the consequence? What is the overall result?
do you have any regrets?
I have
Do you
no
look
regret.
back? None.
I have no regrets. No regrets at all. And I don't blame anybody for my mistakes. Because everything I do is my decision and I'm responsible for it.
Hmm. There was a suggestion by Mr. Kotak, among others, that India needed to print more currency. What do you think of that?
Madam, I am not an economist. I don't understand all these things. Mr. Kotak understands it better.
But there are economists who are not bullish on the India story. They believe that the pandemic has hidden costs, that we are
Man,
going to reach.
if I listened to those economists now, I would have been a very poor man today. Two people I don't listen to is journalists and economists.
That's fine. Journalists is fine. Why don't you listen to economists? I understand you don't like my
No,
fraternity.
because
Why don't you like economists?
well, I believe they are too much embroiled in figures and away from reality. They forget
Okay.
that economics is an art, it's not a science. And economics is very much based on human nature, and the future is uncertain. And they feel everybody will act rationally, which is not because it involves humans. What is going to matter if India has 9.5% growth or 11.5% growth? Or if India instead of having 10% growth has 9% growth?
But does it not matter if there are, if the salaried class can no longer afford, for example, to pay school fees? I know people who've pulled their kids out of private school because there's been salary cuts. Or secondly, there's now increasingly big companies are thinking of not returning, work to work. They figure out a way to
I
save
don't know
money.
where you'll hear these. I don't understand where you'll hear these stories. I have not heard of any such stories here.
I've
And
met
there
these
are
people.
and there
I
are
don't hear it. I've
50
met these
million
people.
households in India here. If
Hmm.
50 lakhs are affected, what's going to happen?
And what about the
That can
informal
change.
sector? What about the
I
informal sector where most
therefore I
Indians
am.
work?
Pardon?
What about the informal sector where most
I
Indians?
think there's no availability of labor in Bombay. I'm making a house, the wages are 1.5 times. Carpenters are not available, plumbers are not available. They've raised their salaries. What are you saying? There's no work.
So
For those
what
who want to
what
work, there is no. See, people are hit in the hospitality and the aviation sector. I don't think
yeah.
any other.
And what will happen to those sectors? You've just
See, they
invested in
feel
an
like
airline. You clearly believe it will recover.
it will correct. It will correct with time. I think when restaurants open up and travel opens up, it will be difficult to get a place in a restaurant and an airline ticket for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
Just
On
as
that, I
happening
think
in
on
America.
that on that I think you're totally right. I'm sure you're right about many things. What I want to ask you is, how do you see the culture of work changing? You may think COVID is a flu. Many companies don't. People have not gone back to work. City centers globally
I think
are.
95. Let me tell you, ma'am, I have an investment in a KPO. We have 5,000 employees. Our KPO is progressing and working absolutely more efficient than it was before. And it's my prediction, and I could be wrong, that 95% people will return to the office. Otherwise, the diverse rate in India will go up by 10 times. Because work is not everything in life is not, it's also social, it's human, it's interaction. That's not going to change, in my opinion.
Yeah, but companies could use it as a trick to save money. Don't pay rent, don't invest in
Well,
office
they may,
spaces, and so
but
on.
then if the employees don't respond well, they will have to change.
Jhunjhunwala there. I think we've just lost the link to him, but till he
No, no,
actually
I
comes.
can hear very
Oh, there,
clearly.
there, there. You're there. We lost you briefly. Carry on. You were saying about people returning to work.
Yeah, I'm saying people will return to work and will return to offices. And ma'am, all
And
this, I want,
huh,
when I want to eat food, I order. I don't like that chitta rumali roti.
hmm.
When I go and I pay 8,000 rupees a head, I want a pretty hostess to serve me in Golden Dragon. I don't want to bloody eat Golden Dragon home at food at home.
That may be you. That may be
And
you.
that
But
may
what
be
if
my
Golden
food and
Dragons?
it's my
What if Golden
prediction that
Dragons Malik decides that I'll just survive on delivery because it's cheaper for me
let us
because I'm
see,
not
let us
getting
see,
enough customers?
let us see time. Everything in, if I want to pay 8,000 per head, why should I go to, and I don't get the atmosphere and the experience, why should I go to eat Golden Dragon food here? I can order from a street vendor also.
So, what worries you, if anything worries you? You said Pakistan and a nuclear
What
bomb
worries
can
me is
delay.
that worries me is that Indians are not optimistic on this country. मरा मुझे लेके आएंगे तो मरे मरी खबर लेके आएंगे.
Hmm. What do you most commonly hear from friends in the business or otherwise in corporate India that you do not agree with?
Well, I agree to disagree.
Yeah, what do you disagree the most with? What do you disagree the most with?
I can't say that different thing different times here. First of all, I give marks to very few people's opinion. And
Hmm.
we fiercely argue and we agree to disagree. We're all independent thinkers. And we know we can always be wrong.
Does inflation, the fact that inflation is up, the fact that petrol prices and diesel prices are up, I'm not talking from an aviation point of view, I'm talking about everyday living. Does that not concern you?
No, it doesn't concern me.
Tell me why.
Because I think we have seen the peak of the prices and the peak of the inflation. I think inflation in India next year will come back to 4.5%. And we need that kind of inflation for the economy to grow. No, ask me to explain why.
Tell
Moderate
me,
level of
tell me,
inflation is always good for the economy.
yeah, tell me this. If there is a third wave, as is being forecast, and more restrictions are imposed, if not nationally, state by state, even in Mumbai, I'm guessing you're in Mumbai, even in Mumbai, you have many restrictions right now on economic activity. How long do you think
There
the
is no
economy can
restriction
absorb that?
except restaurants and
Yeah.
swimming pools. There is no restriction on economic activity. You can go where you want. All factories are working. Everything is working, man. And if there are third wave, we'll cross the river. We'll cross the river when we come to it here.
Hmm. So which direction do
Remember
you
one
see
thing.
the?
Remember one thing
Yeah,
about Barkha. Bull markets
yeah,
go up on a wall of worry, right? And come down a ray
yeah.
of hope. So as long as there is worry, I'm happy.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. We're almost at the end of the interview. Tell us two things. One, which direction? What do you think is the peak of the markets? How high do you think they'll go, and do you
I
think they'll
can,
keep moving
I
up?
can, I can, I can predict the direction, not the depth. But I've
And the
always seen the
direction,
markets take a direction upwards. The high
yeah.
is always higher than what you ever imagined. And when they go down, the lows are always lower than what you ever feared. So I
There are
look at the
people, yeah, there are people, the ones whom you don't like, economists, who have argued that the markets had a distorted reality and the markets represented the wealth of a few big, rich, wealthy business houses, and actually real India lives outside of the stock markets. How would you respond to that?
God bless them.
Okay, I have to end by asking you how you, who did not come from wealth. As you said, you came to the markets with 5,000 rupees. You came from a middle class home. You were the child of an income tax officer. How did this become your life? And how did you first discover that you had the appetite for risk?
Well, at the age of 15. So my father was interested in stocks and he would discuss with his friends. And I would always wonder why this price fluctuates. And my father, being the tolerant father he was, he always encouraged me, he encouraged my curiosity. And through curiosity, I learned. And then I am daredevil. Like in the stock market, my father said, never ask me for money, I'll never give it to you. Right? Never ask me again. My mother said, who will marry you? I said, Mama, I was a child accountant coming from a conservative Marwari family. I said, you'll have one less daughter in order to trouble you. And I defied the
Then,
world. I defied the world and I came to the market. I never asked my father for money, ever. And God has been
ever.
kind. Ever, never. Never means never. And I lived with a father in his house until his death. I lived in his house with him and my mother until my father's death. And then after that with my mother.
When you are described as India's Warren Buffett or the guru of the stock market or the big bull of the markets, how do you see yourself? Do you see yourself through those adjectives?
I see myself as Rakesh Jhunjhunwala. Madam, big bull means I'm Harshad Mehta. Warren Buffet means Warren Buffet. I mean, I don't know what I am. I am what I am. And who I care for the world. I don't react to anything the press writes about. Because when they say something, keep quiet. When the wife and the press say something, keep quiet. Otherwise, it makes things worse. And let everybody ever feel. Listen to me. ZTV made a program on me.
Yeah,
बिग बुल को डब्बा गुल. I said good. एक चीज याद रखना, सूली पे चढ़ा रहे हैं गिराने के लिए. So be prepared for it.
that
And
is
don't
true.
be influenced. They tell you you're king of markets. The only king is the market. The day I think I'm the king of the market, I'll be in Junjunu.
So how would you describe who is Rakesh? If I asked you who
I
is
am Rakesh
Rakesh
Jhunjhunwala.
Jhunjhunwala,
I am Rakesh Jhunjhunwala who does what he likes what he does. He is very conscious of his deeds. Would like to earn the greatest wealth of the world with the greatest practical integrity and give as much of it as God allows me. I say,
and
God,
what
you are
would,
the giver of wealth. You don't allow me to give. I don't want more wealth. Give me the power to give. That's why I
yeah,
describe myself. Freewheeling,
how
loving, frank to a point of embarrassment. Is afraid only of two things in life, God and wife. So be it.
what is your biggest strength and what is your biggest flaw?
My biggest strength is my guts and my honesty. And my biggest flaw is my anger.
What makes you angry?
Small, small things.
Like, I mean,
It
clearly journalists and economists make you angry, but apart from that, what makes you
doesn't
angry?
make me angry. I pity them. I don't make them angry. I pity them.
Okay, that discussion for another day. What makes you angry? What makes you angry?
So what makes me angry, what makes me hurt is something which emotionally is disturbing to me. Right? And what makes me angry is I have to resolve the three things I have to do in life. To go after my health, improve myself as a human. And the biggest point, I have two problems. One is I tend to dominate conversation, which is not good, and I get angry very fast. And third is God, give God, give me the power to give. These are my
On
three engines.
that, yeah, on
And my
that note,
fourth
I
thing
would,
is God, give me
yeah.
life so that I can play with my grandchildren.
Okay, I think the one thing that you certainly have is a lot of self-awareness. That's a very bluntly, and like you said, you're a very frank person. So that is a great. I think that's a great virtue, by the way. I think that's a great virtue to be frank in a world of fake politeness. Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I hope to bring you back when you can speak more openly about the airline. We'd love to know more
I
about
want
that
to ask
particular
you, I
venture.
want to ask you one thing, Barkha. Why is
Yes,
somebody so much inquisitive and concerned about the airline? It's a
it's
bloody investment of
interesting.
300 crores. Yeah, it's not my life.
Even 300 crores is small money, small change for you, but it's a giant investment for everybody else. One.
But
Secondly, it seems
why is everybody
counterintuitive
so inquisitive about it and wants to know more? I don't know
because
why.
look what happened to Vijay Mallya, look what happened to Jet Airways, look what happened to all of them.
Arey, but a lot of people came to the stock market. I know hundreds who have come in and gone bankrupt there. Doesn't mean I go bankrupt.
And people wondered why you didn't just buy Air India, for example, which is up for sale.
Because I want to create a new organization. Because I want frugality, and frugality can come only in a new organization. It's a culture, and that culture can
Would
be built
you
only in a fresh organization.
would you say that this investment is your riskiest investment ever?
And all my investments are risky.
Well, I'll tell you another great quality that you didn't count among your strengths. You said guts, but I think that it's the appetite for risk. Very few people have it, and that's why I think you are where you are. Risk that appetite. Very few
There,
people in the world have.
Barkha, there are two interesting things in the world: markets and women. Both are concerned with four-letter words.
For you, women for you.
Markets with risk and women with love. Hello? Hello?
So I'm saying, yeah, go ahead.
I said there are two interesting things in life, women and markets, or markets and women. Both are concerned
I
with
said that's from your
four-letter.
perspective. Huh.
Yeah, that's it. I will see things live with my perspective. No? So
Yeah.
markets with risk and women with love. For
And,
4 letter words.
and what I will ask you again before we close, the biggest risk you've ever taken in the markets, what would you define that to be?
He's coming to the market with 5,000 rupees. That's the biggest risk.
Okay. Okay, so I think this airline investment for you is quite conservative compared to those heydays when you had nothing and you bet big. Thank you, Rakesh Jhunjhunwala. Pleasure, contrarian, and always sort of lives on his own terms, as you said. Thank you. Pleasure talking to you. It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.